We're welcoming Kimberly back. She has been in the great state, not state, but country of Panama.
I have. I've been on a world tour the past month.
You've been a lot of places, Iceland,
Scotland,
Panama, etc. And finally now in Spring Hill, Tennessee. This is a call-in program primarily. We do try to deal with some others people that send questions in, but we deal primarily with call-in. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So Chrissy from Pennsylvania, you're on the air.
Hi, Dr. Joe. Hi, Kimberly.
Hello.
Hi, Chrissy.
How may we help you?
Can you hear? So, my husband and I have been separated about 8 months. We've been living separate since then. And next week, I am actually moving home because the place that I am living at, I can no longer live at.
Home means back with him, or home means back with your parents?
Back with my husband.
Okay, and he's okay with that?
Well, I don't know because he won't give me a straight answer.
Okay, so why did the split take place to begin with? What happened?
Basically, he felt like I did not prioritize him or the marriage.
Was he right?
Which was true. He was right. Yep.
Okay.
He felt like he was the only grown up in the relationship. He felt like he was lonely, even though, even if I was sitting next to him, he still felt lonely.
Did he feel understood?
No.
See, that's where loneliness comes from. It's not whether there's another body sitting next to you. Loneliness comes from, is there somebody who really hears me, who really understands me? And you're saying that was not occurring, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so what are you going to do different when you get back?
Well, he has seen the changes I've made.
Good.
In fact, last week I had a marriage helper call with my coach, and me and him devised an in-house separation plan. Now, my husband did not want to be part of that conversation. He said, well, you talk to the coach about it and you relay the information back to me.
We have great coaches. Which coach did you work with?
Nathan, and it was amazing. I've been working with him for a few months now.
He's a pretty smart guy.
So I emailed my husband the in-house separation outline. He was very impressed with it. He said, it was refreshingly honest, and he liked how self-aware I was and how respectful I was of the boundaries that we laid out.
Okay, great.
And he really liked it.
So how can we help you? What can we do for you today, Chrissy?
So he still hasn't given me an answer. When he read that outline, I said, okay, are we going to try this? Are we going to try an in-house separation? And at first he said, yeah, I guess. And then he said, well, this is a big decision. Let me think about it. I don't want to get your hopes up. So that was last week, and I'm moving home next week, and I still don't have an actual answer.
So if you don't have one, are you moving in anyway?
Yes.
So you're kind of a doer, right? Let's take charge, let's make things happen, and he's more of a laid-back processor, think things through kind of guy, right?
Yes.
Has he ever accused you of being domineering or controlling?
No, I've actually accused him of that. We both like to quote unquote wear the pants in the relationship, which is where we kind of.
I see. Okay. So Kimberly, what do you think? If she moves in before he says, that's a good idea, let's do this, what do you think will happen?
Well, I think I'm missing some context. Is it their home?
Yes.
I think she has every right to move in.
Didn't ask that question. The question was, how do you think he's going to react if she moves in before he says, I agree with this, let's do it?
Go ahead, Chrissy.
So my question is, he knows that I'm moving in. It's just a matter of if he is going to leave when I move in or not. So that's not, the question is like, do I continue to say, hey, what are your plans? Just because it's killing me not to know what the heck he's going to be doing. Like when I move in, is he splitting? Is he going to stay? And I want an answer. And I asked him yesterday, and he kind of said, well, what day were you coming back next week? And, just asking me like some questions about the details of it, which I thought was promising.
I
will not give me an answer.
I would stop trying to figure that out. If he knows you're going to be moving in, move in without making it a big ordeal, without trying to get his feelings about it. just move in and occupy the space. I'm assuming you're not going to move right back into the same bedroom. I don't know if you are or not, but if he,
No.
yeah, that's what I would think. So if he knows that, then I would say you do it, and you do it amicably, and you use it as an opportunity to not do any pushes and to instead increase those pulls. That's what I think, Joe.
I think you're right in that she has a right to do so. I think it also makes a lot of difference that you know he's going to be okay if you move in. And so you can do that very gently without pushing, without being adamant about it. Just simply saying, you know, that date is going to be Friday or whatever. And I just want to make sure that everything's going to be okay when I move in there. Something very easy, not like, may I, but this is the day I'm coming in. Is there going to be any problem with that? Because if he agrees ahead of time, it'll be a whole lot easier in my estimation. You agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I didn't take it that was her question as much as she just wanted to know is he going to stay or not when she moves in. She can't stay where she currently is. But sure, when people have buy-in ahead of time, then it always tends to make things easier, but she also has a deadline. So she has to have somewhere to go.
Yeah, so I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't ask, may I? I would just say, I'm coming in. Is everything going to be okay? Just get his assent in some fashion, and you're much less likely for him to move out. I'm not saying he won't, but I'm saying you're much less likely to do so.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, a great idea. The phone lines are open. You can give us a call, 615-912-2998. Again, that phone number is 615-912-2998.
Jason, if you don't mind, scroll back up on the other side, the right-hand side of the screen there. I saw something a minute ago that I would like to address, and I want to see if I can find that again before. Okay. I guess I've lost it. Oh, no, back up again. There you go. We're back up just a little higher. Okay. Regina was saying antidepressants made me into an emotional zombie. Now that I'm off them and feeling better, my husband said that he doesn't even want to try. How would you address that, Kimberly?
I would assume that she's saying that the husband doesn't even want to try to work on the marriage.
Right, but it has to do directly with her not being on the antidepressants anymore.
Well, I wouldn't make that assumption. I would say that it was likely who she was when she was on the antidepressants.
Well, antidepressants may be...
Now that I'm off them and feeling better, my husband says he doesn't even want to try. I would assume from that it was because of what happened while she was on the antidepressants and how she had lost her sense of personality, an emotional zombie, became disconnected, likely lost sex drive, that was what led to the push.
I see. I now see her second statement, and that makes me think you're right. I believe that's because of this that he has started a relationship with a coworker. So I think your interpretation was superior to mine.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos to you.
Let's hope that happens tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Kimberly's taking the orals to defend her dissertation as one of the major final step in being awarded her PhD.
That's right.
Yes, SSRIs will, or antidepressants, will make you more like a zombie in the sense that they control the emotion parts of the brain by brain chemicals. They actually typically increase serotonin, which calms you down. A lower serotonin level will lead to a higher sex drive. There's no doubt about it. And so if it went for a while without that, and you may be right, so what advice can we give her here, if any?
I would say you did the right thing for you and your health by either being on them or by coming off of them. But the key here is not to think back to, did I do the wrong thing? It's not the antidepressants. It is two things. Number one, what was it in the relationship that led to the problems that he was pushed away? And how can you begin to increase your pulls? What can you do that are the right things to do by working on yourself, working on your pies, yourself physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually? Those are the right things to do because it's the best for you. And if anything works to bring him back, then doing that will. So that's the first part. The second issue is the affair. That's not the core problem. It's rarely the core problem in a marriage, although that's what most people want to focus on. If he would just end that affair, everything would be fine. We could put the marriage back together. The affair being over definitely takes away a huge obstacle, I would say, but it doesn't mean that all of a sudden your marriage is going to be fine, because the majority of the time there were issues in the marriage that led to this fertile ground that an affair produced from. That doesn't mean it was your fault. We're not justifying the affair, but can you understand how that works? That's what I would say.
Our number here is 615-912-2998. We'd love to have you call. And Kimberly, since you brought up push-pull, we have something to offer about that. Is that right?
We have a brand new toolkit that we have launched at Marriage Helper. Toolkits are where we take really complex topics that we teach at Marriage Helper. We distill them down into very clear, quick, and easy training, so to say, for you to be able to learn about them and learn exactly how to implement them. That's what we call a toolkit. It gives you tools in your tool belt that you can use to help you save your marriage. And we have just released one. Last night is when it opened, on push and pull, the science of what pushes your spouse away and how you can pull them back. And until Friday at midnight, you can get the push-pull playbook, the push-pull toolkit, for 61% off of the normal price. So on Saturday, that price is going up to $199, but you can get it between now and Friday night at midnight for $79. And there's a couple of bonuses that you're going to get when you get the new toolkit this week as well. The first is that Dr. Joe and I are going to be doing a special live Q&A just for the people who get the toolkit this week. So you'll definitely want to be a part of that. It'll be more intimate than these live shows. So that's a great bonus. And then the second one is we are going to be hosting for the first time ever what we're calling a mini workshop. That's going to be happening in November. More details to come. But when you get this push-pull toolkit, you're going to be able to get a special discount to that live workshop that Dr. Joe is going to be leading in November. I texted you about this yesterday.
See, folks, you find out about these things the same time I do. She's the CEO. She tells me what to do, and I do it. And like these price changes and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure that you know what you're doing about that. I do know this. Push-pull is a core issue. I mean, it's one of the most important. When people truly grasp it, when they truly understand the push-pull principle, everything changes. And therefore, I'm telling you, of all the things that we do, this is the one that's the basis, foundational. And therefore, if you want to take advantage of this new price, I would recommend that you do that before Friday. And then when are we doing this other thing?
Sometime in November. It's to be released.
Yeah, well, I'm out all of November, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I guess I'll be doing that. Okay, I think we have Grace out there on the phone. Grace, you're on the air. How may we help you?
Hello, Dr. Joe. So my question is, my reluctant spouse and I are not even talking anymore. He left about 2 weeks ago, came back Wednesday for 5 minutes, picked up like something in the closet. I guess it was in the middle of my work day. I work from home. But he left right away without us even saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I reconnect or even keep trying when things have kind of devolved to him doing pretty much no contact with me?
Well, don't we see on what you told our screener that he has agreed to come to the couples workshop? Is that already scheduled?
It has not been scheduled. He said yes, but whenever I gave him like dates a few months ago,
mm-hmm.
he didn't pick any other dates. So I think that maybe he's saying yes to appease me, but is not really maybe planning to follow through.
Okay, I know you're not scheduled yet, but are you enrolled already? Are you there, Grace?
So I don't even know when he might want to do it.
Okay, so you're not enrolled in a workshop. He's just agreed to come to a workshop.
Yes.
Okay.
When did he stop talking to you, Grace?
Ooh, probably around September.
Okay. So it's been a couple of, maybe about a month now, 3 to 4 weeks. And
Yeah.
is he involved in another relationship?
Yes, absolutely. He even flew with her to meet his family.
When did that happen?
The end of July.
Okay. Do you have kids together?
No living children.
Okay. How long have you been married?
24 years.
And when did the problems begin with your husband?
When it was Bomb Day, which was in October of last year.
Okay. I don't know what you mean by bomb day.
Sorry, like when D-Day, like when he said, "I'm done."
Okay.
Can't do
But
this
there was
anymore.
nothing before that. Was it the affair that was the predecessor to that?
I don't know if he began the affair. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was emotional before he even told me that he was done.
But he hasn't filed for divorce or anything like that.
Oh, yes, he did. He had me served on the week of our anniversary.
Okay.
He tried. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And you still have a bunch of things together, like your bank accounts, mortgages, other things like that are still tied together, correct?
We have one bank account and a mortgage. Yes.
Okay.
So specifically, what can we do for you, Grace? How may we help you?
I'm just wondering if there's any way to reconnect or reach out to him.
It really goes back to the push-pull. You know, do you have access to our Smart Contact Toolkit?
Yes.
Okay, go back through that one more time. And understand this, Grace, that sometimes patience is the key. You keep living what you learn in the solo workshop. You keep doing what it says to do in the toolkit there, the Smart Contact Toolkit. And there's no big miracle. If there were, I'll guarantee you we'd be offering it to you. But there's no great miracle you can do and things change just like that. It's a matter of consistency over time. Keep being the person that you need to be. Keep being the person you need to be consistently over time. And it's amazing how often that will wind up affecting the other person, even when it appears that there is no contact between the two of you. And because of the fact that he's in a limerence affair, at least you believe he's in a limerence affair, that will at some point begin to change. It never lasts forever. It just doesn't do that. And so the only hope we can give you right now, Grace, is I'm sorry it hurts. I'm sorry for the pain you feel. I know it's unbelievably bad. But you can't make things happen that you don't have the ability to make happen. So consistency over time and patience. I'm assuming that you're in our membership. Is that correct?
Hello?
Yes, Grace. Are you in our membership?
She said yes.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I heard a beep.
No, you're good. I would encourage
Yeah,
you,
I'm
Grace.
in the membership. I did the solo.
Mhm.
I did the solo workshop
I love that.
back in January, and just been trying. But I think that and no, he is in a limerence affair. It's
Okay.
very
Well, what
real.
we're going to recommend then is
And-
what I just said. Take advantage of that membership. Get some sustenance. Get some mentoring. Get some comfort from the other people in that group, and they can help. And then it's consistency over time. Okay.
Yeah,
Take care.
absolutely. You know, I can't help but wonder. There's always these factors that lead to things happening in marriage, and at times they are big and known, like losing a job, even maybe the loss of a parent or a child. And I
Or
just,
even a best friend, yeah.
even a best friend. And so many times when we've seen affairs begin, it hasn't, again, like no marriage is perfect. There's always going to be some pushes, but sometimes it's also the fact that there's been a major loss in someone's life. And so I can't help but wonder, and I wanted to ask now, I kind of wish I did, if there had been a loss in their family or in their friend group that had led to that, because people can start to dissociate and try to separate themselves from the relationship because it can be painful to be a part of a relationship that reminds you of someone that you've lost. But it all still goes back to the same thing, being consistent with the right principles and showing grace and kindness when interactions do happen are the best things that we can do. Well, Joe, I believe we are ready to go to Michael's motivational minute. Let's go hear from Michael.
Well, happy Superman Day to those who observe it. I'm just kidding. Superman Day is in June, so you have plenty of time to prepare for next year. But there's something about the character of Superman that I've always loved. Not just the hope, not just the optimism, not just the idea of serving other people, but there's something that Superman and I have in common, and that's that we're both adopted. And I know for some people in your life, there have been positive aspects of your story, and there have been negative aspects of your story. There are people I know that are adopted, that their adoption story has been rooted in negativity. Maybe the idea of not feeling truly wanted, or questions about where your history comes from, and feeling disconnected to that. For others, like me and Superman, my adoption story has been a positive for me. And that's because of the way that I have framed it. I have tried to look at maybe something that was a difficult situation in my life and see where it is that it shaped me, where it is that it made me stronger, and where it is that it helped me guide me in the direction that I want to go. And so that's all in how you frame or reframe your story. Some of you here listening to my voice, your story is unfolding in ways that you never imagined, and in ways that maybe you're not satisfied with. But I want to encourage you in this time, how can you reframe your story to give you that foundation of courage, to show you where it is that it's making you stronger, and to use this in order to maybe help other people and to continue moving yourself in the direction towards your goals and where you would like to be. Your story is your story, positive and negative. But what you do with it, how you reframe it, is what's going to move you where you want to be. That's your motivational minute.
Always love seeing Michael. Thank you so much for that motivational minute. And I hope that y'all are taking notes and doing some of these things. These are great tips. They're great encouragements every single week. Thank you, Michael, for doing it. All right, Joe, where are we headed to next?
I want to talk about this question from Dixon that has been sent in because of the fact that it's so different from most of the questions we get.
Sure.
Okay. He says, hello, marriage helper. Well, hello, Dixon. I'm at a stage in my life where I'm looking for a serious, loving relationship. Any advice for people who are single and want to prepare for a healthy marriage?
Great question, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Wish more people would ask that question on the front end of getting married.
I agree wholeheartedly.
You know, I think this sounds cliche and you may have heard it before, but when people are getting married to look to be happy, that marriage is going to make them happy or marriage is going to make them whole, I think that is one of the big red flags. Marriage is great, and it is a lot of things that it does for us and then how it helps create us and mold us. But if we're looking for another person to make us happy, then you're already going into marriage with the wrong expectation. So what I would say is get to a place where you feel really good about yourself by working on your pies, physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. Become the best that you can be. And at the same time, be honest with yourself about what you want for your future in terms of kids, in terms of career, in terms of life goals and dreams, because those are great barometers, great filters, I guess you could say, that you can use to help you find someone who's going to better align with where you can both align together. We know that strong marriages are made by people who chase dreams together. And so when you can start your marriage by being side by side with someone who has similar goals, similar aspirations as you do, then you're already putting yourself ahead of the curve of having a healthy marriage. What would you say, Joe?
Well, I agree with all of that. But let me talk about it this way, Dixon, if I may. You understand that the best time to have a divorce is before you get married. And so what you want to do is explore. And number one, and this will sound like a cliche as well, if you're ready to look for that, remember that the kind of fish you catch depends on what kind of pond in which you're fishing. In other words, if you're looking for somebody at some place that is probably not going to have the people that you're looking for, then don't go look there. You say, well, where would I look? Well, it has to do with your own beliefs and values. And so you may look at a church singles group, for example, or you may look around with people who are in your social group, or maybe some of your friends will introduce you to somebody. But make sure that you understand that the pond you're fishing in will make a lot of difference. Now, realize right now, a lot of that is just going online, and that's the way you meet. Well, that's okay, as long as you do the following. Okay, now, I'll try to make this where you can remember it, but here's what to do. When you start dating, I mean, the first time or two, just get to know each other. Like, what do you like? What do you enjoy? Et cetera, et cetera. Just tell me a little bit about you. And so we call that putting a person at ease. And you just want to put each person at ease. And then you want to start exploring. Now, this is before you ever get engaged. You start exploring. But you don't do it on the first date, or the other person will run thinking that you're absolutely insane. Okay? And so what you're going to do then is this. You're going to find out, who are you? And at the same time, you're going to tell them who you are. Now, that means a degree of openness and transparency and vulnerability. I want to know how you think. I want to know why you think that way. I want to know how you feel. I want to know why you feel that way. I want to know what you like. I want to know what you don't like. And so, who are you? Tell me who you are. Now, this has got to be a conversation going both directions. Okay? And then the next thing would be, what do you want? Not just what do you want in the marriage, which is important. You definitely want to talk about that. But what do you want in life? And if you find, for example, that your goals are dramatically different, you may wind up having trouble, because the thing Kimberly was talking about how you can pull together with this, searching for the same thing, seeking for the same thing. If your goals are wildly divergent, then you need to take that as a factor that maybe, just maybe, this is not the relationship you need to be in, or that she or he needs to be in. And so it's like, what do you want? Now, at this point, you're not making any promises. You're not making any commitments. You're just asking, and you're writing these things down so you can evaluate later. And the next thing would be, are there any issues that in your life that we're going to need to deal with together? Like, were you married before? Like, did you have a child previously? Or like, were you sexually abused as a child? Or whatever. Let's talk about our issues. Now, I'm not talking about down on the deep level where you have to have a counselor involved. I'm talking about enough to understand the other person. We've had people that we've worked with who've been married 20 years, had sex problems for 20 years, until finally, one of them, typically the wife, but at least one of them would start talking about how he or she was abused sexually as a child. And the other person will go, why didn't you tell me that 20 years ago? I would approach sex totally differently if I'd known that. And so you want to know, what are the issues, and each of you are talking about this, in my life, in your life, that may affect us in the future. And then, based on that, okay, what kind of things in life do we need to make sure that neither one of us will do? If you have grown up with an alcoholic father, you might be upset if I even have a glass of wine. So let's talk about what kind of things need not to be done by either one of us, because it's going to upset the other person. Not just makes them unhappy. We're always going to be unhappy with some of the things the other person does. But in the sense of, this will really cause you a problem. And what kind of things do you really need, me or you, what kind of things do we really need to learn that we can fulfill each other with? And then after you talk about all those kinds of things, you basically negotiate. I don't mean like you're trying to buy a building. I mean in the sense of, okay, but are you sure a glass of wine would really set you off like that? Or would a glass of wine really be okay? Now, sometimes you may need a coach to help you work through these, not necessarily a counselor, but a coach who can help you think these things through. No, I've got even more, but I'm taking too much time. What I'm saying is, just like everything we do at Marriage Helper, just like everything we do at Marriage Helper, there's a process. There's a process. And as always, it has to be based on push,
And pull.
and you can learn more about that right now.
That's right. In the push and pull toolkit, which you can get until Friday night for the discounted price. You can go to marriagehelper.com/pull to learn more about that. Well, Joe, I would love to go to a caller.
Good.
What about James from Michigan?
Hi, James, you're on the air.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Rockin' and bopping. How may we help you today?
All right. Well, and forgive me in advance, I'm a little anxious. I actually just had a little setback with my wife about half hour ago.
I'm sorry.
But a little backstory. My wife and I went to the couples workshop in April of 2022. After that, for about 2 years, we were really on the mend, dealing with our problems,
Then what
doing
happened?
things better, communicating better.
What happened? What changed that?
Well, I have to be honest and take accountability that a lot of that was my own controlling behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really enlightened to that because I attended the webinar with Miss Holmes last night, and it was very enlightening. Even though I already knew about push-pull from the workshop, it really opened my eyes to kind of recollect on my past behavior.
Yeah, she's pretty sharp. she
It
knows
was
a
all
lot.
Jared.
Yeah.
Jared brought it to light.
Yes, he really does put things into great perspective. However, there's a lot of variables involved in how our relationship broke down. A lot of undealt with grief in our marriage. Infidelity on my part was the reason why we had to go to the workshop in the first place. And to put things in perspective, and I understand I'm not condoning or justifying in any way, cheating is cheating. The weird dynamic, and the truth is I think a lot of it had to do with porn addiction, is I had affairs, but I didn't have affairs like go out and meet somebody and date somebody or
This
something
was like
that, or
high
build an emotional
opportunity.
connection.
We call those high opportunity, low involvement. You didn't get emotionally connected to them. It was basically sex, right?
Yes, I was trying to fulfill a need that wasn't met. Not that me and Erica didn't have that intimacy, but it was missing because unfortunately she had little to no sex drive. I have a high one, and that obviously created a lot of tension. That was one of the variables. Another variable is we had a lot of undealt with grief. After about 10 years of battling with infertility, we were finally became pregnant, and I watched my firstborn son die on a heart monitor at birth. And I can only imagine the toll it took on her. And we didn't deal with that grief
Okay.
very well. We
Kimberly,
didn't get any
before Kimberly answers this, let me just point out, we have a cousin organization. I guess we could even call it a sister organization. We just have no ownership in it. And it's called Spark of Life. SPARKOFLIFE. Sparkoflife.org. The people that run that also work with us, sparkoflife.org. And I would recommend you go to that website today, my friend. And if you see things there that you think will benefit you, you can even call and talk to them. Then you might want to recommend that to your wife as well, because what I'm hearing is
I
you were controlling.
I actually have Dave Matthews
Yes,
from
that's
Spark
him.
of Life was actually a facilitator at our workshop.
Excellent. Go to Spark of Life. I'm telling you
yeah,
right now. And then suggest to your wife that she go, because my guess is your controlling nature is not as powerful an effect on this thing as is the grief. And your controlling nature then adds to that. Kimberly, you think I'm missing it here?
I do. I mean, I said it before. I think it's a huge part of people trying to cope and trying to recover from such a traumatic loss in their lives. There's a desire, especially with the loss of a child. And Dave and Debbie have said this before, that it is many of those couples do get divorced when they lose a child because the marriage is a reminder of the loss. And unless you are very intentional about grieving that together, each of you in the way that you need to, working from there, or working together to move forward, as David and Debbie would say. You don't move on, but you decide to live forward, then it's hard. You're going to continue to stay stuck. And so I know that James had said they came to the workshop in 2022. Things were good. Things got really good. But then things got out of a rhythm. The first recommendation would be, for your own sakes, regardless of the marriage, but for your grief, and to be able to move forward and live forward from that, contact Spark of Life. Go to one of their retreats. And then secondly, the encouragement would be, hey, you've done this before. It can happen again. The fact that you went to the workshop and things were really good for 2 years, and then things started to devolve. Guess what? Every marriage experiences that. It's what you do when things start to devolve that makes the difference as to where your marriage is going to end up. So you can do it again. Come back to the workshop, get more coaching, continue to implement those principles. One of the things we say at Marriage Helper that you all are not going to like hearing, but it is the truth, is that after a marriage crisis happens, coming to the 3-day workshop is an amazing catalyst. And it does things and moves people forward in ways that nothing else can. It is unparalleled. But it's still going to take about a year or two for your marriage to truly get to where it's strong and healthy again. And that includes the two of you doing the work, because it's a process. It's going to take time, and it should take time. It's like when someone loses weight too quick, they're way more likely to gain it all back and then some, because they didn't actually change their behaviors and change the things that was going to lead to a different type of lifestyle. It's the same concept with how we work with marriages. The more drastic the change, that's great, and God can do amazing things, but you have to make sure you've actually changed the day-to-day habits for years to come in order for that change to stick long term.
I agree wholeheartedly. And Kimberly, you've touched a nerve. All kinds of things are popping up there. Like my husband's mom passed away 8 months after we got married. Do you think this affected our marriage more than we could have realized? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, those things. And so I'll say it again. It's called Spark of Life, SparkofLife.org. It's a sister organization to us. They do great work, and they can help you with the grief.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go to Ashley from Virginia, another caller. Ashley, how can we help you today?
Hi, Dr. Joe. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi,
Hello.
Ashley.
I had an affair of about 2 years, limerence affair. My husband found out in June, kicked me out immediately, and has been bitter and angry ever since. We had some false reconciliation of about a week when our daughter wasn't at home, and that was all secret, but he quickly met someone online and has been dating them ever since, and lied about that for a while.
Ever since when?
Since the third
when?
week in June.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And he's been dating them ever since. Told me that he had stopped that, but he didn't. I found out that he didn't. And he is justified in that, says it's not an affair since we're separated. I've been out of the house again since June, and we've had communication. Things were getting better, but I mistakenly was trapped and gave more truth, and it just made things worse. And that happened a couple times as of the latest a couple weeks ago, and things have just been progressively going downhill.
Are you meaning by that he has been looking for more information about what you did? Is that what you're meaning?
Oh, yes.
And
Yes,
you
sir.
have been giving him, you've been
parents-
giving him things that create visuals in his head. Is that what you mean?
Unfortunately, yes, sir, because he just
So
continuously
you're
interrogates.
justifying his anger by doing that. And so we would recommend at this point, stop. don't do that anymore. If he has questions that are going to create visuals, just say, look, that's too painful for me and it can't be good for you. I've been open, I've been honest, I've been transparent, I'm hiding nothing from you. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you anything else that creates a visual in your mind or my mind. I'm not going to do that anymore. Now, if this all happened in June, this is still relatively fresh. Is he a religious man by any chance?
Yes, sir. It's fresh.
Is he also a religious man, Ashley?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So he doesn't have a religion that would tell him about forgiveness and mercy and those kinds of things.
We used to attend church, and then something happened in the church and we stopped going, and then we used to pray, but I blame myself for that. I blocked God, and then they followed suit, and I've just really been trying to work on the pies and be spiritual, more spiritual, and then I also had an alcohol problem as well.
Have you dealt with that?
I've been sober now 90-some days in AA.
Good for you. AA
Congratulations.
is a great organization. Good for you. So specifically, how can we help you today?
Well, I'm just having a hard time dealing with, again, I know it's fresh and just the time, and I'm also having a hard time dealing with the vulgarity of the comments that he is telling me things of him and this other woman that I don't need to know. Now the visuals are in my head, and
Yeah, he's punishing
and then
you.
just calling me horrible.
You understand that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
He's punishing you.
Yes,
You
sir.
can stop that. You can say, look, I am so very sorry for what I did. I'm so very sorry I answered your questions that gave you mental pictures. But at this point, I've heard what you've done, and if you intended to hurt me, you have, but I'm not going to allow that anymore. I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore, because if you start telling me things like that, I'm just going to end the conversation. I love you. I hope that you can love me again. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I'm not going to let you continue to hurt me. Now, you can't do that angrily. You can't yell. You can't scream. You can't say it bitterly. You can't point fingers. You can't attack his character like if you were any kind of a man, you wouldn't. You can't do any of that. What you've got to do is do it very calmly, very humbly. Yeah, okay, you intended to hurt me, and it did, but we can't do that anymore. I can't live with that. So you can stop that. You really can. Now, you might be thinking, well, if I stop that, then I'm stopping all likelihood at restoring the marriage. Actually, it's the opposite. People respect strength a lot more than somebody who acts like that they're in a perpetual pity party. If they can insult you, demand things of you, etc., at will, and you just fold and take it all, they lose respect for you. Mm-hmm. So don't be brassy, don't be angry, but be calm and be strong. Kimberly, am I off base or what?
I agree with all of that. And Ashley, you sound like a strong woman who is experiencing a lot of things that people are saying about you that aren't true. But you're hearing it and you feel like you have to defend yourself. You have to protect yourself. And so my encouragement to you would be, yes, you do have to protect yourself, but not in the way you think. It's just what Dr. Joe just said. You can say, hey, I can't be in this conversation if you're going to continue to talk that way. I would love to talk to you. I'd love for us to connect, but not in this way and not about this. And you have every right to do so. I think you are stronger than you know. I know that you're stronger than you know. And my encouragement for you is get in a community of people who are going to help you stay calm during this time. All of this is still relatively new. I know it's been going on 3 months, but it's still relatively new. At Marriage Helper, we talk about 7 steps to saving a marriage. And the first step is calming down, getting your anxiety under control to where your emotions are better under control so that you can stand up for yourself even better. And so I would encourage you to find that community. And we have a membership that has a community that could be amazing for you. Several people here on this chat are members as well. And if you have something else, maybe it's church where you can find people who are going to support you standing for your marriage and not tell you things that are going to be disheartening. If you can find that in other places in your life, that's amazing. But we have also created one because we know how important it is. And so if we can help you with that, you can go to something. What, Jason? He's gonna put the link in the chat. But can you tell me what it is in case People are just listening. Nope, we don't know. We're going
It's
to
too
find
long,
it.
he said. He said it's too long.
It's too long. Okay.
So we'll put it in the chat. They can find it there.
Yeah.
But don't give up hope, but be strong. Is it time for Kristen?
Kristen, yes, we are heading over to see Kristen, who has some workshop testimonials for us.
Hey friends, it's Kristen. I'm the workshop coordinator here at Marriage Helper, and I'm back with the highlight of my job. These are testimonials that have been handwritten by some of our workshop attendees who've recently come to the workshops, and I'm so excited to share them with you today. The first attendee writes, "This workshop helped me to understand how important forgiving is for my own peace. How forgiving will affect all aspects of relationships in the future. Forgiving will set my heart free from the prison I have lived in." This next attendee wrote, "One thing I learned was I still have blinders in some areas, including not having fully accepted my wife." This next one wrote, "When you come broken, you leave with hope and tools to reach that hope." And the final one I'm going to share with you today. "Thank you for accepting me for who I am. This workshop showed me how to put these exercises into action. I liked the pushes and pulls. I love my wife, and I don't want to push her away. Thanks for all the help." And now back to you, Dr. Joe and Kimberly.
I like that lady.
I know. It's
You can't
so
help
great.
but like her.
You
It takes
can't
like
help.
10 seconds to fall in love with her when you meet
It's
her.
so true. She's so great. Well, you know, I want to add in something to our show.
Okay.
It's called Kimberly's Question of the Day. And I would love for people to answer it in the chat, because here's the thing. One of my favorite things that I get to do in my job is to hear directly from you all. But sometimes that's hard because we only talk to a set amount of people in the chat or in the calls that we take and things like that. But I have a question, and every week I'm going to have a different question. Here's my question for you. I would love to know how each of you found Marriage Helper. So how did you find Marriage Helper? Was it Google? Was it YouTube? Was it a podcast? Or was it a friend? How did you find Marriage Helper? And what was it about Marriage Helper that you liked, that drew you in, that made you want to listen to this live show, follow us, be on our email list, whatever it was? How did you find Marriage Helper? And what was it about Marriage Helper that you liked? That's my question of the day.
My most interesting story about that was a lady who said she was driving to work and trying to listen to a true crime podcast, hit a bump, and somehow went over to our podcast. And she said, and there was this old guy with a Southern accent.
That's not you.
I tell you what, I don't, to this day, I don't like that.
You don't have a Southern accent.
Yes.
And you're not old.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When Kimberly finishes and gets her PhD, which will be soon, you know, she calls me Dr. Joe. I don't think I'm going to call her Dr. Kimberly. I think I'm going to call her Dr. Daughter. What do y'all think?
I told my kids last night, because I was telling them about my defense, and I said, then I'll be Dr. Mommy. They thought, and Arrow was like, really? We're going to call you Dr. Mommy? I went with it. Yeah, for sure. Call me Dr. Mommy. A ton of people finding us on YouTube. YouTube, a couple of people on Google. You always present hope, is what one person said. Draw me in. I found you on Google. You helped me understand limerence. The info seemed sincere. It just made sense to me. I found it on Google, and I was impressed with the information being research-based instead of anecdotal or promising secrets like others do. And keep them coming. Keep them coming. Would love to continue to see your answers. Joe, we have time for a couple of more callers. Who do you want to go to?
I haven't been looking at them. I'm
I know.
sorry. Let's see.
Go scroll down just a little bit. I think I see one. Nope. That one. Do you see that one? 10, number 10.
Okay, well, you say you see that one.
You see it right there? Laura from Massachusetts.
Laura
Let's
from
go to Laura from Massachusetts.
Laura, you're on the air. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello. How
I
may we
am.
help you?
Hi, Dr. Joe. Hi, Kimberly.
I found you guys in 2023, a couple months after my husband asked for a divorce. I went to the Solo Spouse Workshop in September of 2023, and my husband and I actually just attended the couples workshop in person in February of this year. And I feel like I'm really good at smart contact for the most part. We're really good at ease, like we've become very good friends. We are still very sexually active and have zero compatibility issues there. But
Oh, let me
I
understand.
don't really know how to like
how often is sexually? How often?
daily,
Daily.
sometimes multiple times a day.
That,
That's often.
That's often. I don't know. You could get much
That's
more often.
Okay. I'm sorry, forgive me.
Sometimes there's days that we don't, but it's usually because we're too tired. Or if he's off doing something else, because unfortunately he does have affair partners as well.
Okay, so how? Well, obviously we can't help you with your sex life. How else can we help you?
So I'm really having a difficulty in trying to figure out how to switch over from ease to explore, because with trying to stick to smart contact, I don't bring up relationship information, like stuff about where is this going or where do you see our future or anything like that, because that's when he kind of gets scared and pulls back. And so I've learned, okay, I'm just going to let him lead on that. But at what point do you change from just, okay, I want to be friends with you and we're kind of doing all this other stuff, to how do we talk about the future and if reconciliation is even a possibility?
Do you talk about sex?
Yeah.
Okay. Other than the highly sexual conversation, do you talk about sex in any sense of the word having to do with intimacy, openness?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by
Okay,
that.
let me see if I
Like,
can put it this
we
way.
talk about
Okay.
wants and needs when it comes to sex, but
Yeah.
not necessarily.
And each person feels understood and accepted in that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can actually kind of make this into a game. You can say, okay, I'm really enjoying making love with you. It's fulfilling to me, obviously fulfilling to you. But let's do this to see if we can make it even more fulfilling. Let's start talking about what we feel. So before we make love, once a week before we make love, each one of us is going to tell a story that explains how you feel about life today. And this is going to open up more intimacy, which will make our sex not less exciting. Now, it won't necessarily make it more exciting, but it will make it more fulfilling, because then we're not just making love to each other's bodies, we start making love to each other's souls, to each other's hearts. And so let's do this once a week, once every 2 weeks. We'll start off. I'll tell a story from my childhood and tell you how I think it affects me today, and you do that. Now, you're not going to be telling sad stories probably in context of sex, but if you get into doing those stories, then you can, after a while, separate that from the sex act. Like, hey, I've been enjoying learning about you. I hope you've been enjoying learning about me. Let's just sit on the patio or the back deck or front porch, whatever you have, and let's just tell a story where we can be even more honest, because we're not going to be thinking about how's it going to affect our lovemaking in 20 minutes. Let's just see how it affects us being open and transparent. So tie it to something that's working now, which apparently is sex, and then gradually move it over to the other. And that's how you will get it happening. If you can get each other, you can get to a point of talking about stories from your childhood that affect how you think, how you feel, how you believe, how you act, any of those. And you can do that, every 2-3 weeks, something like that. And you can do that over a period of time. It'll definitely move you into a situation where you're talking about much more involved, much more serious things, but at the same time without pushing, and actually becoming closer and closer together.
I have one clarifying question.
Okay, please.
That I need to ask Laura. Laura, did you say that your husband is currently involved with other affair partners? Is Laura still there?
Laura?
I don't think she is. Okay.
Did we lose Laura?
We must have lost Laura.
I didn't hear that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, okay, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, he is involved with at least one, which he said that he's no longer involved with, but that's not the case because they slip up, they work together, it's complicated. But he is also very active in social media and certain social circles that promote polyamory and multiple sex partners and stuff like that. And he knows that that is not something that I am interested
Kimberly,
in.
I didn't hear that.
I
that.
think Joe has a new answer for you now.
You go ahead. Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Well, I mean, so the core question is they're in ease. Like they are moving, they're still having sex. They're slowly moving towards reconciliation. What I believe Laura is wanting is she's wanting to go from that ease stage to explore so that he begins to make a decision to stop those things.
I would still say you could do the same thing from the stories from childhood because of the fact that apparently he knows he's involved with other people sexually, correct?
Yes, he's very honest about it.
Okay, then start there.
Because he's wanting a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, okay, let's start there. Say, let's get on the deck, patio, front porch, whatever. What I want you to do is tell me about your first sexual experience and how that affects you today. And then let's just kind of walk forward through that. I want to hear the story. I want to hear everything. I want to hear what kind of sexual thoughts you had when you were a teenager or even younger. And I want to understand why sex is so important to you. So just tell me stories. Tell me about your first sexual experience. Tell me what you felt, what you thought, etc. Because what you have going on here is hypersexuality. Mm-hmm. And I did miss that. I missed that altogether earlier. I apologize. Here's another question. Why are you still having sex with him multiple times a day if he's sleeping with other people?
We have discussed that he needs to be safe with other people for my health and for his. And the sex we have is incredible. It's great. It's wonderful. And I will not go outside my marriage for that. So for me, it's like I'm staying true to my beliefs and values, and my only sexual partner is my husband. And
so you obviously love this guy very much, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I'm going to stay with it. Say, okay, this is not a predecessor to our having sex. This is me wanting to understand you better. Let's get away from the kids, if you have any. Let's get away from the TV, the phones, turn them off, etc. And then we're going to sit down on the porch or someplace where it's just the two of us being comfortable. And I want you to start telling me about that. And I would start with this. Tell me about your first sexual memory, whatever it is. And if you do that, you can work through helping him and you understand why this is so important to him, why he's crucially wanting to do this. And until you guys can figure that out, and it may at some point take a professional, but until you guys figure that out, his behavior is not going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading a comment of people. Dr. Joe and Kimberly are bringing up good points about this, building genuine intimacy, and that's really what it's boiling down to.
That's what sex is really designed to do. First is to make babies. That's the natural part of it. And the other is to build intimacy because at orgasm, into both the autonomic nervous system and into the blood as a hormone, you get oxytocin release, which is a strong bonding chemical. And so it's not just designed to make babies, and it's not just designed to have orgasms, just for orgasms. It's designed to actually bring two people closer and closer to each other. That's why when you have a marriage where they're hardly having any sex, one thing that would help would be to start having sex if they can do it without negatives. So, yes.
And I hope all of you listening at work are wearing your AirPods. And with that, we will be ending today's show. Thank you for calling in. We will be back next week at noon. Love hearing your calls. Be sure to get that push-pull toolkit. And
one last thing, if you ever want us to do an entire program answering questions about sex, post it right there, or send us an email at info at marriagehelper, that's marriagehelper.com, because unless I get a lot of people wanting that, we will never do it.
See y'all next week.